Welcome to Armchair Talks, Jenny. Jenny Schmal lives in Johannesburg in South Africa and is the author and reset facilitator who specialises in showing her clients how to regenerate and connect to their authentic, powerful self. And I can't wait to have a conversation with Jenny today about relationships and authenticity and inner wisdom. So it's a great subject, isn't it, Jenny?
I think it's a fabulous subject, and I'm so honoured to have been invited to be on the armchair, on the couch in this conversation, because relationships is one of my favourite things to communicate about. And to have a relationship, we have to have integrity, authenticity, and a dose of wisdom.
Yeah, because I can remember when I was much younger that, you know, when I wasn't connected to who I really was, I really made terrible mistakes.
You know, it took me a long time to realize that in a relationship with somebody, there are about 9 other relationships in that relationship. And if you haven't got a good relationship with yourself, which we all strive to, which seems to take forever, it's taken me 50 years. I don't know if I'm there yet. It's difficult to be in a relationship with somebody else because you tend to go and look for what you don't have.
Yeah. What do you mean about 9, within 9 relationships?
Well, to simplify it, if you are in a relationship with somebody, okay, firstly, you're in relationship with yourself. You're in relationship with the other person. That's already 2. Then you're in relationship with the relationships the other person has.
Yeah.
Socially, mentally, physically, psychologically, and you as well. So you're already looking at a mass of relationships where you pull all your information from. So also your relationship with your mother and father, your relationship with your family, those first parts that form your relationships with relationships. And in every relationship you go into, you're pulling from that information.
Yeah.
Because that's how the mind works. So I might want to go into a relationship and I think, oh, this is the perfect person for me. So loving, so kind, so generous. But really, I'm talking about myself. Because if that's what I'm looking for, I may find myself in a little bit of trouble further down the line. So to put it in a nutshell, I think it's easier like this. I'm not sure what the supermarkets are called or the shopping centers in your world, but we have something called Woolworths or, Pick and Pay. Yeah. And really what we do is we go into, I call it the pick and pay of life, and go down a shopping aisle and we go and look for love or financial security or kindness. And in the aisle next to us, somebody else is also looking for those things, and we find each other. And we think that that person's going to give us what we don't have. God, we don't see it like that. But 6 months down the line, suddenly what you saw in the shopping supermarket doesn't exist anymore, or it does. I'm being a bit fundamental here, but that's mainly how people go into relationships, is looking for something that they do not have or do not feel at the moment. I'm not okay. I want to feel okay. I'll go and find a relationship that makes me feel okay.
Yeah. And I guess it's just when they get connected to their wisdom that they realize that they've made a mistake, or this isn't working, or, and that can be years down the line for some people, or it can be very quickly.
Yes. And I think that's where, we go into the relationship and we get engaged, we get married, we have children. We've had no boundaries. We've had no contract for a relationship. So what we were looking for 5 years ago is not what we're looking for now. Now we're looking for something else. So we think the relationship is not okay anymore. And yet all we're doing is looking for ourselves to grow, because we're up-leveling all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what being human, I suppose, is about.
Yes, because as we grow and change, our needs change.
Exactly.
I can really see that, and I can see that, you know, in the relationships that I've had too. So how does somebody approach a relationship from an authentic point of view?
That's an interesting question. It's a powerful question.
Mm.
When you go into a relationship, you got to know what you want, and you've got to know what you're prepared to receive. You've got to give and you've got to receive. And you're going to be doing it for yourself. They're not going to be doing it for you. So if I go into a relationship, I have this one-liner that I would say up front. I want you to love me no matter what. Now that's quite a silly statement, but it's very true.
Mm.
So I'm saying who I am, how I behave, what I bring to the relationship. You have to love me no matter what. And somebody may say, well, no, that's not okay. But it's really, I'm speaking to myself all the time. So going into a relationship and expecting something from the other person, if we're really, really looking at relationships, with relationships, not going to work.
Yeah. Do you think that us being aware of what our intentions are when we enter into a relationship, you know, if we're really, really honest with ourselves and we look at the intent of what it is that we want from the other person, is, you know, that we realize that sometimes our intentions is needy and we're trying to get them to fill a hole. And sometimes the intention is something that we fundamentally need within a relationship. And it's perfectly okay to ask that for that as well.
I really like how you've posed that, because I think as a younger woman, I come across in a relationship, you meet me, I'm a very powerful, bold person. And then 6 months down the line, I become needy. I knew it had started, so the insecurities would show up. And this person that you're in the relationship with, and I think I've only had 5 in my life, including 2 husbands, would suddenly think, who is this?
Yeah.
But so eventually you get to see that is my thumbprint. That's how I behave. And then hopefully eventually you notice you can't do that anymore, because they're blown away and they're thinking, well, where's that powerful woman gone? Suddenly she's jealous, envious, insecure, and she's driving me nuts. So I don't think we don't do it on purpose, but we haven't come to terms with our relationship with self. So, you know, I have this new tagline, and it's called Rediscover the Love of Your Life, You.
I love that, by the way.
Yes, and only when you love you, warts and all,
yeah,
I think you're ready to go into some kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And also, remember, going into a relationship, maybe that's what you need. You've subcontracted that. It sounds, you know, like you're calling a plumber, but really it is. We subcontract people into our lives to bring us the things we need to grow with.
Yeah.
And then maybe when that has taken place, they don't need to be in our life anymore. Or they do. So you're married for 46 years and it's lovely. Or you're married for 2 and you get a divorce. And then the next person comes along. You're not looking for the same thing anymore. You sort of upgrade as you go. And if we can just, you know, be very practical about a relationship. So if you're looking to, you know, for someone to look after you and you're looking for safety and security, whether it's financial or just feeling safe and secure, which for me is a big thing. I like to feel safe and secure in a relationship.
Same with
me. If you're going to cheat and you're having all those ideas, don't even bother. So once you've got me to feel safe and secure, I will then you see the real Jenny. But until I feel safe and secure in a relationship, and those are my values, everybody will be different, the relationship cannot take place, because I'm still busy relationship with my past and how I used to be. So I think in today's world, for women particularly, and I love men and I love speaking to men as well, so this is also for them, we've grown at the speed of light. And we're starting to look at how can I fundamentally be the best version of me And I have the tools, I have the internet, I have people to speak to, I have podcasts, communications, collaborations to find out how I can be the best me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that our, you know, for me, it's always been the version of me when I'm attached to my past, you know, and all the patterns that I have. It's like I had a post-it note on my head, and the post-it note said, you know, if you want to abandon me or be disloyal or cheat, I'm the one. Come to me. I'll look after you. And then there's the other side of me now, which is the authentic side of me, which I just know that I am far more attached to my inner wisdom. And I can see when I'm doing this other one, you know, the old me, and I can see when I'm really aligned. And I think that for everybody listening, it's about getting to the point where you can really see that and feel comfortable in who you really are.
And I think the beauty is, because you've just explained it, is the contrast.
Yeah.
And life is about contrast. So today I might be the very aligned Jenny, and tomorrow I'm, you know, the one that's a little unaligned. But to notice that and not to judge it, just to say, okay, what's going on here? I'm not feeling so aligned today with my authenticity. And then speaking about it yourself, what's going on here? What's underneath that? Let me chat to myself about that, and then bring yourself back to being, you know, using wisdom.
Yeah.
And wisdom's quite gentle, you know, and saying, okay, I'm realigned next. So the relationship firstly is with yourself, always.
Yeah. Yes, you have to know what's going on in this sort of ecosystem inside. Awareness for me is something incredibly important. I have sort of my awareness button on most of the time, apart from when I lose my mind. And, you know, it tells me when I'm going off onto the bumpy road. I always describe it like you're driving down the road. It's a golden road. The sun is shining. You're just feeling amazing. You're in this car and the music's great. And you just feel really in the flow. And then suddenly you start feeling a bit bumpy. You've taken a detour, you've gone off, the sun's gone in, it's gone a bit grey. And your awareness is the one thing in alignment with your inner wisdom that lets you know when you've just drifted off.
Yeah.
The choice then to come back, you know, gently come back.
Yes, I think, look, awareness is always there. So when we say, and so is the state of love. So if we say we're in love, love is a state of the mind. It's a state. And you can fall out of love, but you can never fall out of awareness.
Yeah.
You've just slipped out of the awareness, like you said, and gone into the world, into this reality where suddenly just some little thing or some little thought took you on a diversion. And once you know that, and the quickest way to do that is to put your hand on your heart immediately and feel the impulse of the heart beating, and then bring yourself back into alignment. And you know what we're talking about sounds like hard work, but once you get into it, it's sort of instant. At the click of a finger, you can be back on track and back into, you know, wisdom, authenticity, and in a good relationship with yourself.
And this, when you talked about love there, you know, love is so important because love is something that we generate ourselves actually inside. You know, love is a feeling that we generate. And when we fall out of love with somebody, it's not the other person we've fallen out of love with. We've lost, and we're not generating inside ourselves.
Well, if we say love is a state, or, you know, one of the highest vibrational energies, then we are love.
Yes.
And so when we fall out of love we said, I fell out of love with that person. I don't know what just happened. I'm just fell out of love. Actually, you forgot who you are.
Yes.
And you fell out of alignment with yourself. Because the person itself, whether you say, well, they did that, or she did, he did, whatever it is, actually, it's all about us.
Yes,
it's very difficult to say. You know, so we blame and shame, and instead of claiming and saying, okay, well, I don't feel like I did before. I feel a little different, and that person doesn't need to be here anymore. And that is so much more beautiful.
Yeah.
and just, go back with the flow. So yes, relationships are something we could speak about for the next 10 years.
Well, we also have the relationship, not just with partners, it's the relationship that we have with our children and our parents.
Yes.
And, the relationship that we have with our parents, for many people, not everybody, but there are a lot of people have many difficulties around their relationship with their parents. And, I think it's a wonderful thing when you can start seeing that difficult relationship in a completely different way through almost the eyes of love and awareness and understanding.
I think I've mentioned it in some group. It took me 59 years to love my mother. And it's a very long story, but at 59, I had this epiphany, probably on a workshop or some personal transformation seminar. And I drove about 80 kilometers to go and see my mother and to explain to her that I absolutely loved her. And I prepared myself for this conversation. And I, just opened my heart and told her everything. And you know what her answer was? She said, verbatim, "Jennifer, you were always a brat." And I thought that was so beautiful, because I'd come with this whole, new persona and epiphany, and it was just simple.
Yeah.
But I realized after 59 that I am my mother. Your mouth opens and you hear your mother.
Yeah.
So if we had to, think that we always say, I would not have chosen a person like that.
Yeah.
To be my mother. Well, we may have to think again.
Yeah.
So relationships with parents, relationships with children, all very difficult.
Do you know, you said something really important there, actually, Jenny, because you were saying about, it can be quite simple. Because the moment quite many years ago when I had a little change of a perception about my relationship with my father, my relationship with him changed in an instant. When I decided to drop my barriers and be able to have a closer relationship with my mother, I just loved her completely from that moment. But it really wasn't difficult. It was while I got caught up in all those thoughts in my mind about just thinking about the past and things that happened. And when you get caught up in that, you just think it's so difficult to get to that place.
Yes, I mean, I know from my own life, you get caught in the story of what they were and what they did and how they treated you. And to be really honest, I would say my whole life was destroyed through this woman. Very beautiful woman, in fact. And when I really got to think of it, I mean, if somebody asked me what happened on the 27th of July, 1964, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, what did your mother do to you? I wouldn't have an answer. So we hold on to a dot here and a dot there and a minute here and an afternoon there, and we create the story about any person, mother, boyfriend, child, and then because we stay hooked into that, we're stuck in that story, eventually it becomes our life.
Yes.
But if we unpack that, we'll notice it was just a moment where we felt pain.
Well, the only time that we get caught up in a story is when we're not authentic. And when we discover who we are authentically, we literally drop the story,
Yes.
and human beings fall in and out of that all of the time, because it's naturally, we have this amazing mind and it creates this story. But the more you get to know yourself, the more you're willing to be authentic, is the moment when, you drop out of those stories and your life becomes much better and much happier and much more fulfilled.
Absolutely does.
It does.
And if I may just say, before we sort of go into closing, I think we've learned that the heart also has a mind.
Oh, yes.
That's the new concept. So when you drop from this mind that we call ego, which we all need, by the way, otherwise we wouldn't be here, and then drop into the heart mind and re-question what we just said or what we just saw at face value, we'll come up with a different story.
Yeah, and there's an ingredient that's necessary, isn't there? And that's completely honest with yourself. That's how you know you're in your heart mind.
Because the heart doesn't lie.
No, 100%. What a beautiful place to finish.
It was absolutely superb. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, we could talk for hours about this, and maybe we will come back to this subject at some point, or probably another one, Jenny. But thank you so much for being part of the Armchair Talk podcast, and I'm sure that we will be speaking again. So,
my pleasure.
Thank you.